So yesterday was Halloween. Now, if you're watching this later in the week, October 31st was Halloween. So what does that mean to us? What is the purpose? Aside from, I get to wear themed ties. No. Halloween is a very divisive day among Christians. Some of us want to celebrate it the way Western society has done. Others are not sure because of potential demonic roots. We're really caught off guard because we want to participate, but at the same time, we don't want to sin. And so there's this balance that we have to keep. And there are some who will condemn you for participating in anything Halloween, and others will just rename it. I mean, if it's a harvest festival, we collect candy, do games. Is it really the same? Well, we don't call it Halloween. If you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. But Halloween isn't the only thing that happens in this period of time. There are a variety of other holidays or celebrations as we see. Some of these include All Saints' Day, All Hallows' Eve, Martyrs' Day, All Souls' Day, Dia de los Muertos, Guy Fawkes' Day, Yulan, Ingungu, Samhain. What? Some of us are confused about the origins of Halloween. Was it Celtic? And of the Celts, was it French Celtic, English Celtic, Scottish Celtic, Irish Celtic? Were the Druids involved? Was it a merging of Roman deities and Celtic celebrations? Were the Greeks involved? Where do pagan celebrations come into play? Is Satan there? I mean, they've claimed it as their holidays, the Church of Satan, but really that didn't get started till the late 60s, 70s. And so they were claiming it as a backlash to the church and not that they started it. American Halloween is different than global Halloween. And even, are there Christian roots to it? It's so convoluted, so murky. It's difficult to tell where it started and where it came from and how it's morphed and who gets to claim it and what it means today. I mean, you go to certain parts of the South, like Louisiana, there's a lot of voodoo and witchcraft associated with it. You go to various parts of Africa, and while they see it on TV and want to identify with part of the Western world, there is still a large amount of witchcraft that is believed or practiced. And so if you were to dress up as a witch, go to someone's house and ask for candy, they might kill you. So how one culture views Halloween is not necessarily the same as how the rest of the world views it. But we in America seem to think that how we view it is the right way in which we view things. But these days in this period of time have a lot of cultural significance to a lot of different people. And here in America, we try to merge things and can't we all get along? And let's find a way to interact with these different clubs, organizations, cultures, groups, people. This can be a very challenging point because where does Halloween land on the Christian calendar? I mean, we've got the Westerners and even in the fall, Northern Hemisphere and the spring celebrations in the Southern Hemisphere. And does dressing up do anything? Should we be cautious of the costumes we wear? Or it's enough to make you miss the day altogether because you're worried about what you should and shouldn't do. It's almost like voting day, which is coming up. Some of it's been going on already, but Tuesday's the official day. By the time you read through all the propositions, you look up the candidates' stances on things, and you go through, by the time you figure it out, it's well into February. and you missed your opportunity. So we sometimes overthink things. And I'd like us to look today in the book of Romans.
Accept the one whose faith is weak, without quarreling over disputable matters. One person considers one day more sacred than another. Another considers every day alike. Each of them should be fully convinced in their own mind.
So in looking at part of this, we see that there's something about a day and a festival or a celebration. As we look at things on a larger end, we'll be pursuing Romans 14 throughout part of November. And so there's a lot of stuff to unpack here, and there's a lot of things that can be misunderstood or can be taken to prove my side or your side, his side or her side, just to make a point. And we find sometimes as a church, we sometimes make things messier than it needs to be. Sometimes we make things a little more delicate, sugar-coated, and other things are much more staunch standpoint. In fact, a lot of things in life are moving away from the gray to the black and white. You're either with us or you're against us. You're either in or out, up, down, left, right. There's so many things that people can do to try to insist their point is right and say 50 things that are the same and one point that's different. And if you differ on that one point, you are the other side. Now, we've got a lot of things going on in society today that accentuate this point. You don't need to do a whole lot of research. You can find most of these things just by opening your front door and looking to see what's outside. And as a church, we are called to make this a place for the sick. It's a hospital for the sick. Who needs a doctor, as Jesus says? Not the living, not those who are healthy, those who are dying. I hadn't thought of it that way. I mean, obviously you want to get your yearly checkup and your physical and things like that. But at church, for some reason, we think everyone should come perfect. That's a danger because, frankly, the kids who are not so good, their parents send them to church because they hope that the good kids will rub off on them. Well, enough parents send their bad kids to the church, not that a kid is bad, but misguided perhaps. And they send these children to the church hoping that the good kids rub off, but more often than not, the misguided children will rub off on those who might have more wholesome morals, if we'll even put it that way. I don't like to line it up into these type of categories, but often our churches are made up of broken people at various levels of their Christian journey. And for one reason or another, we feel that it's okay to put people down who are in a spot where we once were, or perhaps never were because we started up on our journey a little higher on the ladder, if we'll use that metaphor. So, Halloween, church, sacred days, which one do we pick? More and more, the church is becoming divided. This side of the coin or that side of the coin. And if everyone were to come as evil as we are, yes, that's right, as evil as we are, because we live in a fallen world and we are sinners. As a result of being a sinner, Jesus had to come and die. We celebrated Holy Communion today because we want to make sure people understand that Jesus came to forgive us, make us whole. Wow, it's amazing. You could have done a horrendous deed, and the Lord can forgive you. But for some reason, people don't. And if you are trapped in a sin, you're not welcome here until you fix that sin. Frankly, this is true in some cases. If you have the problem of shooting people, coming to church might not be the best place for you. Actually, right now, it's a perfect place because there's no one who's here. So you could come, conquer that idea. You don't know, I don't have to. All right, then we can put some cardboard cutouts and I don't have to. And you can rise above that. But that's That's kind of an extreme example. But we have these ideas of these perfect people. And we get these people in church who are great. And they're leaders and they're devout Christians. They're holy. They're godly. And that's the goal. But some of them have created their churches to become social clubs. And it's a place for only those who have reached this level of morality. Everyone else, they can go to another church. And then when they're ready, they can come to our church. How often have you tried to disciple another believer? Well, I don't think I'm qualified, Pastor Matthew. I haven't reached this level of entire sanctification. Some of us have these lofty goals that one day you're going to get to pastor status and then you're going to change the world. But not until you're healthy, wealthy, and wise. And you've done your time here and now you are retired and now you can give back. It's a little misguided. And we're missing some of the points. As we have this broken society, people who sin, people who are regularly trapped in sin. They come to church and they're kicked out. It is a challenge to love a sinner. It is a challenge to love someone who doesn't love you. Well, why should they even come? Why should they not? Churches who close their doors to the world around them are destined to have their doors closed forever. We must engage society. We must engage our family members. And I'm not talking about preach and bash them over the head with a Bible, but I am saying don't compromise. We have the weaker brothers, and perhaps you are a new Christian and you know one thing, and you talk to a person who's not a Christian, and now they know that one thing you know. They went from being weak to being equal, even though both are still weak in the eyes of those who have been around for a while. Please don't misunderstand that I'm trying to create levels of Christians. We can all be honest with the fact that the longer you've been a Christian, you either become more apathetic, you decide not to do it at all, you become holy, and in some cases, holier than thou, as you may have heard that term before. And we also have the idea of spirit-filled. My goal is for us to be spirit-filled. I don't want any of you to tire of being a Christian. And if when you come to church, it's boring, if when you come to church, you get what you put into it, and when you put into it, it's sleeping, just come and pray for me, Pastor, and that's good enough. I don't want to do anything in the middle of the week. Our lives should revolve around God. And that's what this passage in Romans is talking about. Let's not put limits on people based on where they're at. Let us embrace. However, we are not being tolerant. Wait, what does that mean? We're going to be accepting, but we are not being tolerant. Wait, what? I don't understand. We want to love the sinner, not the sin, if you like that cliche. So what does that mean today?
You then, why do you judge your brother or sister? Or why do you treat them with contempt? For we will all stand before God's judgment seat.
Wow. Stop passing judgment on each other. All of you, wherever you're hiding at in the TV, stop passing judgment on each other. Too many times, we try to punish those who don't fit our idea of morality. Now, again, this can lead into a license to sin, And the church should just accept everybody as they are and not expect them to change. And we can get into a slippery slope here. But the Bible is specific in this case, where people are coming at different levels. How they understand Halloween, a certain day, and what they choose to do, and how some people will thumb their noses, look down upon, or even in some cases, lift up and say, yay, that's how we should all be doing it. Notice what this other verse also says.
So then, each of us will give an account of ourselves to God. Therefore, let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put any stumbling block or obstacle in the way of a brother or sister.
Okay, I've made this choice. I'm going to regard it as that such, and therefore it is. For me, witchcraft is unclean. So you're not going to see me participate in it. I don't really like having witch decorations. I don't really like having various forms of games, movies with witches in it. It grates on me. And yet, I like certain movies that have wizards. Well, isn't that similar? And you know, it's a bit of a hypocrisy for myself. And it's something that I have to wrestle with. Witch is bad, wizardry is good. Witchcraft is unclean, wizardry is clean. I'm not advocating that. And maybe me, as I grow, can find better ways to view these. That's just a personal example. You have things that you have said, that's wrong. Then don't do it. And you have things that are, that's all right. Then you do it. But here's the great thing. As you mature as a Christian, some of you are going to find out that the things you thought were wrong might not be. Or, and this is more often the case, things that you are giving a pass to, saying that's okay, every once in a while doesn't hurt. I'm not hurting anyone. They're not hurting anyone. Sometimes we find that these things, when we come to right or wrong, actually are on the wrong side. I'm not going to judge you. You need to find these things as yourself. You need to feel the conviction of the Holy Spirit in your life, not me telling you what to do. I can advise you. How does that help? You have to live your life. I'm not there for you. Don't call me at 2 a.m. asking me to make a decision that's going to affect the rest of your life. I'm just not. I drag this point out because churches hurt. Families hurt. And we're called to be part of the family of God. And as a result of this hurt, as a result of this pain, people leave the church. People don't want to be part of a place that hurts. They can get that elsewhere. And I'd like us to try to stop hurting each other. I'd like us to try to stop passing judgment on each other. But I do want us to start to live a holy life so that those around us can see what a holy life looks like and try to live accordingly. We're going to take the rest of this month. We're going to look at the other parts of the book of Romans to see how this can apply to our lives. But today, specifically because Halloween was yesterday and some people have some different views, and some people are viewed as heretics and should be thrown out of the church. Hey, our weakness and our maturity levels dictate a lot. And for us to try to impose that on others is very dangerous. Allow the Lord to convict you. And if he says, no, then back off. If the Lord approves and commends it, great. And perhaps one year it's one thing and another it's another because you've gone through a different season in life. And I want to challenge you to look at what you hold as correct. Where are your morals? What are your values? Are you able to differentiate between what the world says is okay and what God says is okay? Or do you find some sort of synthesis? We have to live in this world. We have to make some decisions. But are you judging others? Are you imposing your stuff onto them? Or are you allowing them to receive the Spirit? We're going to leave it with that. But I would like us to bow our heads in a moment and ask the Lord to speak to us. Allow the Spirit to cleanse our body. We had communion just a moment ago. And there might be some things that have resurfaced or surfaced for the first time after hearing the message today. Let God speak to you. I hope your moment of reflection with the Lord has led you to contemplate how you live your life, the people in whom you are affecting as a result of the decisions that you make. I want to just encourage you to pray, to read the scriptures, to call me, email me, text me your concerns, your questions, and together maybe we can get through this. My goal is for us to fill this church when we're able to finally meet again. And while we have sinners and saints alike, I'd like us to be able to coexist together.